In a small courtroom in a quiet town, a young black girl named Maya sat nervously on a wooden bench. She was only 15, but she had already faced many hard moments in her life. Maya was there for a hearing, not because she wanted to be, but because of something that happened at school. Maya was strong and smart, but she also felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. The courtroom was filled with people, lawyers, family members, and strangers, and everyone was waiting for the judge to speak. The judge was a middle-aged man named Judge Reynolds. He was known to be strict and sometimes cold, but people had always thought he was fair. Today, though, something was different. From the moment Maya entered the courtroom, Judge Reynolds seemed annoyed. Maybe it was the way she dressed, or maybe it was because she was young and black. Whatever the reason, he showed no kindness. Maya could feel his eyes on her, sharp and cold. Maya had come to court because of a problem at school. A teacher accused her of breaking a rule, something Maya said she did not do. Her parents and the school had tried to fix the problem quietly, but it didn't work. Now they were in court to try to solve it properly. Maya wanted to tell her side of the story, but she was scared. This was her first time in court, and she didn't know what to expect. The room was silent except for the judge's voice, which echoed sharply off the walls. He asked Maya questions, but they were not kind questions. Instead of listening carefully, Judge Reynolds seemed ready to find fault. When Maya tried to explain what happened, he cut her off. She felt small and powerless. People in the courtroom watched, but no one said anything. Maya's heart beat fast, and her hands shook slightly. Then, something happened that no one expected. As Maya tried to speak again, Judge Reynolds suddenly raised his hand and slapped her across the face. The sound of the slap was loud in the quiet courtroom, like a sudden thunderclap. Everyone gasped. Maya's cheek burned, and tears filled her eyes. She was stunned. How could a judge, a man supposed to be fair and protect the law, do such a thing to a young girl? The courtroom froze. Some people looked shocked, others looked angry, but no one moved. Maya's parents rushed forward, calling out in surprise and horror. Maya tried to hold back tears but felt pain not just on her cheek, but deep inside her heart. The judge looked down at her with a strange expression. For a moment it seemed like he did not know what he had done. Then, quickly, he tried to regain control. The lawyers whispered among themselves, and the court officer stepped closer to Maya, trying to calm the situation. But Maya was brave. She wiped her tears and looked the judge in the eye. Even though her cheek hurt and her voice was shaky, she said firmly, "What you did was wrong." The judge's face changed. His calm, cold expression cracked for a second, and panic flickered in his eyes. He realized the seriousness of what had just happened. Judges have power, but they are not above the law. Slapping a young girl in court was not only unfair, it was illegal. Maya's courage was a shock to him. Word about the incident spread quickly. People in the town talked about it in whispers at first, but soon it was the main topic everywhere. Some people were angry at the judge. Others doubted Maya's story because of her age and race. But Maya didn't care. She knew what happened was real, and she knew she had to stand up for herself no matter what. Maya's family stood by her side. Her mother held her hand tightly and told her she was proud. Her father promised to help her get justice. The community began to rally behind Maya, sending messages of support and promising to speak out against unfair treatment. It was clear. This was not just about one girl or one judge. It was about respect, fairness, and standing up against injustice wherever it appears. In the days after the slap, Maya faced many challenges. Some people told her to stay quiet and forget what happened. They said it would be easier to move on if she didn't make a big deal. But Maya was not like that. She believed in truth and justice. She remembered what her grandmother once told her, "Never let anyone make you feel less because of who you are." Despite the pain, Maya's spirit grew stronger. She talked to lawyers and her family about what she could do next. They all agreed that something had to be done to hold the judge responsible. It was not just about the slap, it was about sending a message that no one, not even a judge, could abuse their power and get away with it. The courtroom where it happened seemed smaller now, like a cage Maya wanted to escape. But she also knew she could not run away. This was her fight. She wanted to make sure no other child, especially a black child like her, would ever have to face something like this again. The slap was more than just a moment of violence. It was a symbol of a bigger problem. Maya decided she would be a voice for those who had been hurt and ignored. As she prepared to take her next steps, Maya's mind was full of questions. How could a judge who was supposed to be fair and wise lose control like that? What would happen if people did not believe her? How could she make sure the law worked for her, not against her? These questions pushed her forward, even when it felt hard. Maya's story touched many hearts. People began to see her as a brave young girl who faced fear and pain but did not give up. They admired her courage to speak up against someone powerful. Slowly, the community started to think more about fairness and respect in courts and schools. Maya's slap became a spark for change. While Maya waited for what would happen next, she kept her head held high. Every day, she remembered her strength and the support around her. The slap was painful, but it did not break her. It made her fight harder for what was right. After that shocking day in the courtroom when the judge slapped Maya, life became much harder for her. At first, she thought everything would calm down quickly, but the opposite happened. The slap was not just a single event. It was the start of a big battle, one that tested Maya's courage, her family's strength, and the community's will to stand up for what is right. Maya felt many things in the days after the incident. She felt pain, not just on her cheek but deep inside her heart. The slap was a harsh reminder that people in power sometimes forget how to treat others with kindness and respect. But she also felt anger. How could a judge, someone who should protect justice, hurt her like that? And how could he think he could get away with it? Her family became her strongest support. Her mother held her close, wiping away her tears and telling her, "You are strong, Maya. This will not define you." Her father spoke calmly but firmly, promising that he would do everything to help her get justice. Maya's little brother, though young, could see that something serious had happened. He would sometimes ask, "Is the judge going to be sorry?" Maya would smile weakly and say, "We'll see." The community around Maya was mixed in its reaction. Some people were quick to defend the judge, saying maybe Maya had done something to deserve it, or that she was exaggerating. Others were shocked and angry. They had never seen such an unfair thing happen in their town. Maya's story began to spread beyond the courtroom. Local news picked it up, and soon people from other places started talking about it too. Despite the mixed reactions, Maya's courage grew. She was no longer just a scared girl who had been slapped. She became a symbol of standing up to injustice. But standing up was not easy. Maya faced pressure to stay quiet. Some adults told her to forget the incident and move on, warning her that fighting the judge could make her life even harder. But Maya had already made up her mind. She wanted people to know the truth, and she wanted the judge to be held responsible. School became difficult for Maya too. Some classmates whispered about the incident. A few even laughed or made rude comments. Maya tried to ignore them, but it hurt. She missed feeling safe and happy at school. Her teachers noticed the change in her and tried to offer support, but nothing seemed to fix the pain she felt inside. Meanwhile, Judge Reynolds did not publicly apologize or admit what he had done. Instead, he acted as if nothing had happened. Behind closed doors, he was worried. He knew that if the story went too far, it could ruin his career. Judges are supposed to be fair and respected, but his actions could make people lose trust in him. He talked to his lawyer and some colleagues, trying to figure out how to handle the situation. Maya's family decided to get legal help. They found a lawyer who believed in Maya and wanted to fight for her rights. The lawyer explained that what the judge did was not only wrong, but illegal. A judge slapping a young girl in court was a serious abuse of power. They talked about filing a formal complaint, but it was scary. Going against a judge meant facing powerful people and a complicated system. But Maya was brave. She knew it was the right thing to do. As Maya prepared for the next steps, she started to learn more about how the justice system works. It was confusing and sometimes unfair, but she wanted to understand it so she could use it to protect herself and others. She read stories about people who had fought injustice before, people who had changed the world by refusing to stay silent. Those stories gave her hope. One day, after many conversations and advice from her family and lawyer, Maya decided to do something no one expected. Instead of waiting for things to happen, she took a bold step and reached out directly to a Supreme Court justice. This was unusual because normally people have to go through many layers of the legal system before their case reaches the Supreme Court. But Maya wanted to make sure someone with the highest authority heard her story. Calling a Supreme Court justice was not easy. Maya was nervous and unsure if the call would be answered. She practiced what she wanted to say many times, making sure she could explain everything clearly and calmly. When the moment came, she dialed the number and waited. To her surprise, the justice answered. Maya told her everything: the slap, the judge's attitude, the pain she felt, and her hope for justice. The justice listened carefully. She did not interrupt or judge. Instead, she asked questions to understand the full situation. After the call, the justice promised to look into the matter. This was a huge moment. For a young girl like Maya to call a Supreme Court justice and be taken seriously was almost unheard of. The legal world was shaken by this bold move. News about Maya's call spread quickly. Many people were surprised and impressed. They saw Maya as a fearless young woman who refused to be silenced. The judge's panic grew. He realized that Maya was not someone who could be easily ignored or pushed aside. The justice's involvement meant the case would be watched closely. As the investigation started, Maya found herself in the middle of a storm. Reporters wanted to interview her. People sent messages of support and encouragement. Maya felt both scared and proud. She knew she was part of something bigger than herself now. At the same time, Maya faced new challenges. Some people tried to discredit her, saying she was seeking attention or lying. Others whispered that the legal system was too complicated for a young girl to understand. Maya ignored the negativity as best as she could, focusing on her family, her schoolwork, and her goal for justice. Maya's family stayed united. Her parents took turns sitting with her during long meetings with lawyers. They helped her prepare for court appearances and public statements. Her mother encouraged her to write in a journal, to keep her feelings safe and clear. Her father reminded her every day that she was brave and strong. The community slowly began to change too. More people started speaking out about fairness and respect, especially in the courtroom. Maya's story opened eyes. Parents talked to their children about standing up against injustice. Teachers discussed how to make schools safer and kinder. The local government promised to review policies to prevent abuse of power. Maya never forgot the slap. It was a painful memory, but it was also a reminder of her strength. Every time she felt tired or scared, she thought about the call she made to the Supreme Court justice and the promise she had made to herself, to fight for justice, no matter what. This part of Maya's journey was filled with hard days and moments of hope. She had learned that courage is not about never being afraid. It is about doing what is right, even when you are scared. Maya knew the road ahead would be difficult, but she also knew she was not alone. Her fight was just beginning, but already, Maya had shown the world what it means to stand up for yourself. The slap had shaken her, but it did not break her. Instead, it gave her the strength to keep going, to speak louder, and to believe that justice can be real. even for a young black girl in a small courtroom. After Maya's brave decision to call the Supreme Court justice, the story took a new and powerful turn. The moment the justice received Maya's call, the world of law and power was shaken. It was very rare for a young girl, especially one who was only 15 years old, to reach out directly to the highest court in the country. Normally, cases had to go through many steps and lower courts before reaching the Supreme Court. But Maya's courage cut through all those layers. Her voice reached the top, and the justice listened carefully. The justice was a woman named Justice Morgan. She was known for her fairness and strong belief in justice for all, no matter who they were or where they came from. When she heard Maya's story, she felt something very important: the need to act quickly and with care. This was not just a small issue. A judge slapping a young black girl in court was a serious matter that showed a deep problem in the legal system. It was also a reminder that sometimes power could be abused when no one was watching. Justice Morgan took Maya's call seriously. She ordered an immediate investigation into Judge Reynolds and the courtroom incident. This decision surprised many people. Some judges and lawyers whispered among themselves, questioning whether a young girl's complaint could really reach such high levels. But Justice Morgan was firm. She believed that every person deserves respect and fairness, especially when they are vulnerable. The investigation was led by a special committee made up of experienced judges, lawyers, and community leaders. They started by collecting evidence. They talked to everyone who had been in the courtroom that day: the lawyers, the court officers, and the people who had witnessed the slap. They asked Maya to tell her story again, this time with the support of her lawyer and family. Maya spoke with courage, describing everything in her own words. She did not want to hide anything. As the investigation went on, it became clear that Judge Reynolds had crossed a serious line. He was supposed to be a guardian of justice, but instead, he had abused his power. The committee found proof that the judge's behavior was unacceptable. They also found out that this was not the first time Judge Reynolds had been harsh or unfair, though the slap was the worst act he had committed. The news about the investigation reached the public, and many people began to pay attention. Newspapers and television stations reported on the story. People were divided. Some still supported Judge Reynolds, but many others stood with Maya. They saw her as a symbol of courage and truth. Maya became a figure who reminded everyone that even young people can demand justice and make a difference. During this time, Maya experienced many emotions. She felt proud but also tired. Speaking out against a judge was not easy. She faced pressure and criticism from those who didn't believe her or wanted to protect the judge's reputation. Some people questioned why she would call the Supreme Court directly, saying it was unusual and disrespectful to the legal process. But Maya knew she had done the right thing. She believed that when the usual system fails, people must find new ways to be heard. Justice Morgan continued to support Maya quietly but firmly. She knew that the case was about more than just one girl or one judge. It was about the trust people had in the legal system and the need to make it fair for everyone. The justice made sure the investigation was fair and open, and she pushed for transparency. The pressure on Judge Reynolds grew heavier. He realized that the Supreme Court was watching, and his actions would not be ignored. The judge tried to defend himself, saying he had lost control because Maya was disrespectful. But no one believed his excuses. The law is clear. Judges must act professionally, no matter what happens in their courtroom. The investigation also looked at the wider problem of how courts treat young people and minorities. Maya's case opened up discussions about racism and abuse of power in the justice system. Many lawyers and activists spoke out, calling for changes to protect people like Maya from unfair treatment. The community held meetings and rallies to support Maya and demand justice. Maya's story inspired many other young people to speak up about their experiences with unfairness and discrimination. She became a role model for courage and standing up for what is right. Teachers and community leaders invited her to speak at schools and events. Maya's message was clear. No one should be afraid to tell the truth, even when the person in power is against them. As the investigation continued, the Supreme Court Justice reminded everyone that justice is about fairness, respect, and listening to all voices, especially those who are often ignored. She encouraged the legal system to learn from Maya's case and work harder to protect the rights of young people and minorities. Finally, after months of investigation, the committee prepared its report. It showed that Judge Reynolds had acted wrongly and must face consequences. The report recommended that he be removed from his position and face legal penalties. This was a victory not only for Maya but for anyone who believed in justice. The story did not end there. Maya's case sparked changes in the judicial system. New rules were introduced to ensure judges treat everyone with respect, no matter their age or background. Training programs were created to help judges understand how to work fairly with young people and minority communities. Maya felt a great sense of accomplishment. She had started as a scared girl who was slapped in court, but she had become a powerful voice for change. Her bravery showed that one person's courage could challenge even the strongest powers. Throughout all this, Maya kept her focus on what mattered most: justice and fairness. She continued to study and dream of a future where no one would be hurt or ignored because of who they are. Her story was a reminder that sometimes the smallest voices can make the biggest impact. See, after the investigation confirmed that Judge Reynolds had acted wrongly, life for Maya and her family entered a new phase. The battle for justice was no longer just a private struggle. It had become a public story that inspired many but also brought new challenges. Maya's courage had changed the way people in her town and beyond thought about fairness and power. Her story was a clear example of what happens when someone in a powerful position forgets their duty to be kind and just. But now, Maya and her family had to face the reality of what that change meant for them in everyday life. Maya's days were filled with many activities. She was still a young girl trying to live a normal life, but normal didn't feel quite normal anymore. At school, she was famous. People talked about her as if she was a hero. Some students came up to her to say they admired her bravery. Others, however, still treated her differently. Maya could feel the eyes of some classmates, some curious, some judgmental. It was confusing and tiring. She wanted to be just Maya, not the girl who fought a judge. Her family tried to keep life as peaceful as possible at home. Her mother cooked her favorite meals and tried to keep her smiling. Her father took extra shifts at work to make sure everything was okay financially. They all knew this fight was bigger than just their family. It was about justice for everyone. But they also worried about Maya's happiness and safety. Maya's lawyer stayed close, guiding her through every step. Legal battles are slow and full of paperwork and meetings. Sometimes it was boring or stressful, but Maya understood that patience was part of the fight for justice. She learned about courts and laws, about how judges are held accountable, and how people can use the system to protect their rights. Meanwhile, Judge Reynolds' world was changing too. After the committee's report, he faced serious consequences. He was removed from his position as a judge, which was a big fall from power. Many people in the town had mixed feelings about this. Some said he deserved it for what he did. Others felt sorry for him, saying he lost control but didn't mean to hurt Maya. But most people agreed that no one should be above the law. Judge Reynolds also faced legal penalties and public criticism. His reputation was damaged, and he had to answer to other authorities about his behavior. This was a clear message that abusing power has consequences. For Maya and her supporters, this was a victory. They saw it as proof that justice could be served, even against those with authority. At the same time, the Supreme Court Justice, Morgan, worked to make sure the system learned from this case. She helped introduce new training programs for judges to understand issues of fairness, respect, and how to work better with young people and minority communities. This was a big step forward. The justice system was beginning to change because of what happened to Maya. Maya's story also sparked conversations in schools and communities about respect and equality. Teachers talked about the importance of standing up against unfairness, and students learned that their voices matter. Maya was invited to speak at events and meetings, where she shared her experience and encouraged others to be brave. Despite all the attention and changes, Maya still faced personal challenges. Sometimes the attention made her feel overwhelmed. She missed the days when she could just be a regular teenager. The pain from the slap was not just physical, it had left emotional scars. But Maya was determined not to let those scars control her life. Her family and friends helped her heal. They reminded her that courage is not about never feeling scared or hurt. It's about continuing to move forward even when things are hard. Maya also found strength in writing. She kept a journal where she poured out her thoughts and feelings. Writing helped her process everything and stay focused on her goals. One important moment came when Maya was invited to meet the Supreme Court Justice Morgan in person. It was a quiet but powerful meeting. The justice told Maya how proud she was of her bravery and how important her story was for the whole country. She encouraged Maya to keep speaking out and promised that the justice system would continue to improve. That meeting gave Maya new hope. She realized that her voice could reach far beyond her town. Her fight was not just about one slap or one judge. It was about making the world a fairer place for everyone. As the months passed, Maya worked hard at school and dreamed about her future. She wanted to become a lawyer or a judge one day, so she could help others who face unfair treatment. Her experience had shown her how important it was to have people in the justice system who truly care about fairness and respect. Her family supported her dreams. They celebrated her achievements and helped her stay focused on her education. Maya's story inspired many young people to believe in themselves and in the power of standing up for what is right. The town where Maya lived also changed. People talked more openly about race, justice, and respect. Local leaders worked to create programs to support young people and ensure courts treat everyone fairly. Maya's story had opened their eyes and hearts. Maya's courage had become a light in a world that sometimes feels dark and unfair. Her journey showed that even when faced with pain and injustice, one person can make a difference. The slap that once hurt her became a symbol of strength and hope. Though the road ahead was still long, Maya walked it with her head held high, ready to face whatever came next. She knew that her fight was bigger than herself, and she was proud to be part of it. The final part of Maya's journey was about hope, healing, and the future. After the long fight for justice, many things had changed. Not just in the legal system, but in Maya's life and in the hearts of the people around her. The slap in the courtroom was no longer just a painful moment. It had become a powerful story of courage and change that inspired many. Maya knew that justice is not just about punishment. It is about healing and making sure no one else has to go through the same pain. She understood that the legal battle was just one part of the story. The real victory was about changing minds and hearts. Her family continued to support her in every way. The pain of the past did not disappear overnight, but they faced it together. Maya's mother and father encouraged her to keep dreaming and to never lose faith in herself. They reminded her that true strength comes from inside, and Maya had shown that strength every day. Maya also found new ways to heal. She started volunteering with community groups that helped young people who faced unfair treatment. She shared her story with others, not just as someone who had been hurt, but as someone who had found hope and power in speaking out. This work gave her a new purpose and helped her feel connected to others who needed support. At school, Maya's life began to feel more normal again. Friends who had once been distant came back, and new friendships formed. People saw her not just as the girl who fought the judge, but as a kind, strong, and smart young woman. Maya worked hard in her studies, knowing that education was the key to her future. She dreamed of becoming a lawyer or judge, someone who could help others and make sure justice was truly fair for everyone. The community where Maya lived also grew stronger because of her story. Local leaders and officials started programs to educate people about respect and fairness. Schools included lessons about standing up to injustice and understanding different cultures. Maya's courage had opened the door for important conversations that had never happened before. Maya's story also reached far beyond her town. It was shared on social media and in news reports around the country. People from different places sent messages of support and thanks. Some young people said they felt inspired to speak out about their own experiences. Maya became a symbol of hope, showing that one voice can make a difference. The legal system continued to change as well. The new rules introduced by the Supreme Court Justice Morgan helped prevent abuses of power like what happened to Maya. Judges received training on how to treat everyone with respect, especially young people and minorities. There was a new commitment to fairness and accountability. Maya's fight showed that no matter how hard the road is, standing up for what is right is worth it. She taught people that courage is not the absence of fear, but the strength to face it. Her story reminded everyone that justice must include respect and kindness. As Maya grew older, she never forgot the moment that changed her life, the day the judge slapped her. Instead of letting it break her, she used it as fuel to keep fighting for a better world. Her experience gave her empathy for others who faced unfairness and inspired her to work for change. Maya's family continued to be her rock. They celebrated every step of her journey and reminded her that she was never alone. Their love and support helped her stay strong through difficult times. One special moment came when Maya graduated from high school with honors. At her graduation ceremony, many people from the community came to celebrate. Maya was invited to speak. She stood in front of the crowd, her heart full of pride and hope. She spoke about her journey, the pain, the courage, and the hope for a fairer future. Her words moved many to tears. She reminded everyone that even when things seem unfair, we must keep believing in justice. After graduation, Maya went on to study law, determined to become a defender of justice herself. She wanted to help others who felt powerless and fight for fairness in the courts. Her journey had taught her that the law can be a powerful tool for good when used with respect and care. Maya's story became part of history, a reminder of how one person's bravery can change the world. It showed that no matter who you are, your voice matters. Maya inspired a generation to believe in fairness and to stand up when they see injustice. Looking back, Maya realized that the slap was a painful moment, but also a turning point. It pushed her to find strength she didn't know she had. It brought her family and community together. It opened doors for change in the justice system. Most importantly, it gave her a purpose, a life dedicated to making the world a kinder, fairer place. Maya's journey was a reminder that true justice is more than rules and laws. It is about respect, kindness, and standing up for what is right, even when it's hard. Her story continues to inspire, proving that courage and hope can light the way forward.